Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the Bommer number 3024-4-603 Double Acting Spring Hinge with a Box Clamp Flange, 4-inch, and a Zinc Finish. So the 3024 is representative of the fact that this is a double acting spring hinge with a clamp style flange for the door, meaning the door will fit into this pocket or this flange, intended to be through bolted. We'll go over that in a moment. Okay. The -4 is a reference to the size, but it's really more of a reference to the thickness of door that this hinge is capable of handling. A 4-inch is going to be for doors in the range of 7/8 to 1 1/8. So this hinge is appropriate if your door is 7/8, is 1 inch, or 1 1/8. And you're required to select the door thickness for this hinge when you're ordering it, because that clamp is made with the specific thickness in mind. This unit that we've got here is intended for a 7/8 thick door, and that's how it was ordered. And the 603 is the Zinc Finish, a nice corrosion resistant sort of chrome color, very commonly used in restaurant applications for both the color and some corrosion resistance. Bommer manufactures larger versions of this and smaller versions, and it all has to do with how thick the door is. So obviously this is where the door pocket, the door sits in to the flange. The frame flange is back here. So looking at it from the back, your door is going to kind of operate like that. Okay. There is a guide below this video indicating how many hinges you would use based on the door size and weight. First of all, dealing with doors that are generally up to 6'8" or 7'0" in height, and doors not exceeding 3 foot in width. If you've got about a 60-pound door, they're looking for 2 hinges to be used, and up to 75 pounds are looking for 3 hinges to be used. 2'4" doors, 2 hinges. 3-foot doors go with 3 hinges. Okay. There is a link below this video to what is called the template, which let's discuss that right now, as a matter of fact. The template has a lot of very important information on it, and it's generally the most important information. And what I mean is, as you're looking at the template, and please open that now if you're interested to know about door sizing, you'll see on the right-hand side, the upper right-hand side, where there is a reference to the frame opening is equal to the actual door width plus dimension A in the table below the diagram of the single door and double door. Okay, so here's what's happening. Whether or not you have, regardless of having a single door or a double door, you've got to determine the actual width of the door, the net width, or you've got to determine the inside frame size. So most commonly you have an existing frame, and into that space you're going to put a door. You've got to calculate how much room is required by the hinge for installation, and deduct from the finished frame opening that amount, and it will give you the net door size. Conversely, you could have a door that you can't change the size and you need to build a frame to it, so you take the door width and add that amount. So referring to dimension A in the table below, which is for single doors, or for double doors as well, which is dimension B, you've got an option where the door flange is either mortised or not mortised. Okay, and that is an important aspect to contend with if you're going to be mortising or not mortising. Now, generally, people are not mortising that, mortising the flange to the door. Okay, so if you're going to take your door and simply insert it and rest it to the back side of the flange or the clamp, you're dealing with a not mortised dimension, meaning that dimension A is 0.562 or 9/16, and 1 1/8 if it's a double door. So if you're not going to mortise it, and rest it right up to here, that's the dimension you're looking at, the door flange not mortised row. If you're going to mortise the door such that it's flush with the clamp here, that dimension becomes basically 3/8 or just heavy on 3/4 inch if it's a double door. So door flange not mortised, most common installation, is 9/16 of an inch. You've got a 36-inch wide opening. You deduct 9/16 from that, and that gives you a net door width of 35 7/16. That is taking into account the dimension that you need between the lock side or the opposite side of the hinge and the jamb. So that is important to know that you're going to be left the appropriate margin, okay, on the outside or the opposite side of the door as well. Dimension B, you basically are going to be, doing the same sort of logic with that. So if you have any questions on how to size the door properly, please feel free to reach out to us. The template also has on the left-hand side lots of dimensions for you. And you can see where they're deriving the 4-inch dimension. If you look at the height of the flange, which is not accurately shown here, but it's really the dimension from the top of the flange assembly as it engages the barrel assembly to the bottom. It's not the actual flange itself. It'd be more appropriate measuring. Well, they are showing the box clamp in that drawing. Okay, so that's 4-inch. And again, we said it was for a 7/8 of an inch thick door, but you're going to specify that when you order it. Okay, all of the other dimensions are there, and you can review those at your leisure or as necessary. And you can see where they're getting all the other dimensions in the upper left-hand corner in terms of the amount of space that is consumed by the hinge from here to the inside here. Okay. Now, there is a link also below this video to the installation instructions, and they are really equally as important, so you're going to want to pull those up as well. What they're saying here is how to install them, how to set the tension. So first of all, most importantly, it's good to draw your attention to this diagram. Bommer is showing 2 hinges installed at the top of the door and 1 at the bottom. That is the recommended installation. Not equally spaced as a normal hinge would be, but spring-loaded hinges, they want 2 at the top and 1 at the bottom. And what they're saying here is give 3-inch from the top to the first hinge, and then 2 to 3 inch between the next 2 hinges. Obviously, if you're dealing with 2 spring hinges, 1 top, 1 bottom. Now, installation instructions, what they want you to do is remove the spring tension from each barrel by inserting. Okay, so removing the spring tension by inserting the tension rod into the tension adjustment hole, rotate in the direction of the arrow as shown, and remove the tension pin. The bottom line is this: these hinges always come from the factory with tension not set on them, so you're probably not going to have to do any of that. Locate the hinges as shown in figure 1, which is that drawing down below. They're saying here's your installation aspect. This is figure 1. Align center line of door with the center line of the frame and secure the frame leaf. So what they're saying is, if your frame is, say 5-inch wide, a 5-inch cased opening, you're going to want the center of the door right in the center of that frame, which would be 2.5 inch, and the center of the door would be in that 2.5 inch space, and then attach your frame leaves to the frame. So you're going to have an installation just with the hinge hanging there. And before we go further, let's talk fasteners. Forgive me. Okay, they are assuming that a steel frame is what you're attaching this to, and they have included machine screws, small 832 machine screws for that purpose. Sorry. There's 4 of them there. There's 3 of them right in that corner there. 832 1/2-inch machine screws, and that would be for this leaf. In the comment field of the item when you're ordering the material, if you need wood screws for the frame leaf, indicate that there so we can have it set up so Bommer is going to send the proper screws that you'll need so you're not running around at the last minute. And then speaking of screws, you're going to get these hex cap screws, you know, which are intended to be through bolted. You'll see the hex cap screws and then the nuts, and those are 1/4-20 for the appropriate thickness, which is another reason they need to know. And that's going to go through the door. Okay, so you've got your hinges attached to the frame, and that is step 3. There's a note here. Whenever something's in all caps, that's pretty important to read. For best alignment of double doors, mount hinges on one door with tension adjustment up and opposite on the and down on the opposite door, as shown in Figure 1. Shims may be necessary under the edges of the frame flanges for door alignment. Okay, so what they're saying is, in this figure, you'll see that the tension collar is pointed in the up direction here and down over here. Okay, the tension collar is that feature to the hinge here and here with the holes. Those are the tension collars. So if you're doing a double door, do it up on one side, do it down on the other is the bottom line. That's how they want that. Moving on to hanging the doors. Place door in closed position, wedge the door up from the floor, make sure that it's plumb. Make sure everything is plumb. Insert the tension rod well, they've not indicated when you're supposed to attach. You've got to have the hinges attached at this point to the door attached inside. So you'll get the door set up, you'll mark your holes, and then physically screw or bolt the door to the box clamp at that time. So now that you've got the hinge attached to the door and to the frame, it's time to set the tension now, which is really simple. The bottom line is you're going to get a tension rod, and you're going to get 2 tension pins per hinge. Okay? Simply set the tension by following the direction of the arrow. It's clockwise when the tension collar is pointed up, and conversely if it's on the other side. Okay? But just follow the direction of the arrow, and you insert the tension rod into that pin and rotate it in the direction of the arrow, and you can see that you reveal additional holes there. And as you're doing that, that's how you're setting the tension. So you do it both on this side and of course the other side as well, the opposite side of the hinge. And again, you just insert a tension rod into there, and then it will rest the shoulder of the tension, pardon me, you insert the tension pin into there, and the shoulder of the tension pin will rest upon the feature of the hinge here, and conversely over here. Okay. Spring tensioning instructions. Do not exceed 5 holes of tension. Very important. You don't want to stress those springs to the point where they snap, because they're already under tension, and then as the door opens, they obviously obtain much additional torsion set on the spring. You're just better off going with more hinges than less if you feel that you're really on the borderline of something heavy. I understand the hinges are not inexpensive. It's better to be cautious, I think, because if your door weight is at the outside engineered capacity, if you expect it to get a lot of use, if the door is unusually heavy for some reason, disproportionately maybe at the top you might have a large window, or in the bottom a large louver. You know, when the door swings through its opening, it's going to have a tendency not to swing perfectly lateral like this. It could come out like this, you know, in an exaggerated fashion, you know, as you're hitting those doors. So you really want to keep the doors taut and straight to the frame as best as you can. Additional hinges will certainly help do that. So all of the diagram here really refers to the setting of the what it looks like in terms of attaching the hinge to the frame in a top view, but then setting the tension down here. And that's really the bottom line in terms of this sort of hinge. It is available from Bommer not only in the different sizes as said earlier, but also different finishes. Zinc is a great option for this sort of finish, and really nice quality material from Bommer. The last thing I'd like to point out regarding the Bommer hinge is their logo. It says Made in USA right above it, a fact that Bommer is quite proud of, as am I to represent them as a distributor. If you have any questions on the Bommer 3024-4 and a 604 finish, or any other Bommer product, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you very much.